Hello YouTubers, this is Cessnaace and this is another video. What I thought I would do is pull all of the videos of my collection that pertain to the sinking of the R.M.S. Titanic, some dramas and some documentaries, and show them to you. There are two that I know I have, that I did not pull because they're stored in a part of the house that is not easily accessible from inside the house, much less from the outside the house or anything else. So they're there. The films in question are Raise the Titanic, a British film from I think the late 70s, and the American film Titanic, directed by James Cameron. Both films had huge budgets. Both films were expected to be total failures. Raise the Titanic was, Titanic wasn't, but it did lead to a rather humorous quip from Lord Bougrade, who financed the making of the raising of the Titanic. And that is, he said, raise the Titanic, it would have been cheaper to lower the Atlantic. Which is kind of funny. Okay. Oh, that, by the way, even though it's VHS, it's on 2 tapes, it's THX Certified, and it's in widescreen. Okay, from 1953, the American movie Titanic, starring Clifton Webb and Barbara Stanwyck. This film also features a very young Robert Wagner. I don't much care for this movie, to be honest with you, because they spend too much time concentrating on the marital problems between Clifton Webb's character and Barbara Stanwyck's character. Next up, we have a much better film. Came out 5 years later in 1958. It's a British film, and it's just outstanding. A Night to Remember. This was based on the book by Walter Lord. And interestingly, Second Officer Lightoller of the Titanic served as the on-set technical advisor for this film. Played by Kenneth Moore. Lightoller, I mean. Okay, there was a television series on about the same time as The Twilight Zone called One Step Beyond. And there were some other similarities too. While both dealt with the fantastical and fantasy type on the surface, The Twilight Zone was strictly a made-up series, whereas One Step Beyond made the case that they were dramatizing actual paranormal experiences of people. There are 4 discs, and one of them is the one that interests us. Night of April 14th. That tells the story of the sinking of the Titanic, and it stars Patrick Macnee, who would later go on to be John Steed in The Avengers. Also has Cloris Leachman in an episode, Yvette Mimieux, who would later go on to appear in The Time Machine, the George Powell version of The Time Machine. And also Cloris Leachman and Charles Bronson and several others. That's really cool. And one of the things they talk about at the end is, I think I told you that all of them are hosted by the same guy, John Newland, I think his name was, and he also directed every single episode. It's kind of reminiscent of Rod Serling, who didn't direct the episodes of The Twilight Zone, but he did write more than half of them. And he introduced and he made a comment after each episode. He even went so far in one episode, he was going to investigate LSD, because that was in the news at that time, early 60s. So he took acid, or LSD, and he had several movie cameras filming his every moment. Unfortunately, that infamous episode is not in this set, even though this set has 4 discs. Next up is a British, I think, no, I'm not finding it. I'm pretty sure. I make up index cards for all my videos. Anyway, it's called Titanic, A Question of Murder. This deals with all of the mistakes that the White Star Line and Harland and Wolff had made in designing and building the Titanic, and they pretty much have the feeling that, well, due to their actions, 1,500 people were murdered. Anyway, pretty good model there of the Titanic. Okay. This next one is from 1991. Terror on the Titanic. This is okay, I suppose. This one was better. You may think this is a stretch, but it really isn't. Time Bandits, as there is a sequence that takes place on the Titanic just prior to it hitting the iceberg. Okay, this is from 1992. Titanic, Treasure of the Deep. And it's hosted by Walter Cronkite. Okay, from 1993. Titanic, the final chapter, the truth behind the legend. Now, I was watching this set of DVDs the other day, and my wife said, "Can't you watch something that's a little less depressing?" This originally aired on A&E. It's called Titanic. It ran in 2 2-hour time slots for a total of 4 hours. But you take out the commercials, and it runs 192 minutes. Laserdisc collectors will notice this is put out by Image Entertainment, or distributed by them anyway. They distributed a ton of Laserdisc. This has 2 2-hour parts, Death of a Dream and The Legend Lives On. And finally, the National Geographic special, Secrets of the Titanic. By the way, I almost bought this on Laserdisc back in the day, and because I didn't even have a DVD player, but the Laserdisc was $60. It was a 2-disc set. And although when this came out, DVDs were still expensive, I paid, I believe it was just under $20. But still, 20 is less than 60 in my book. But one of these days I will search out the Laserdisc version. Until next time, stay awesome.